There are moments in history when the heavens lean close, when time itself pauses to listen to what God is about to say, and July 5th, 2025 is one of those moments. This is not just another day marked on the calendar. This is a divine appointment, a spiritual alarm clock set long before you were even aware of it. God is not screaming, but he is speaking, and he is saying, please listen. This is the kind of whisper that shakes the soul, the kind of still small voice that moves mountains in your mind and rearranges reality. What's coming isn't just a change in your circumstances, but a shift in your inner world that will birth a brand new outer world. Everything you've doubted, every promise you've almost given up on, every word that once echoed in your spirit but seemed to fall silent, God is about to bring it back to life. You have entered the hour of awakening, and on this sacred date, the veil between what is seen and unseen will grow thin. You are being asked not to prepare in panic, but to respond in faith. This moment has already happened in spirit. It only waits for your agreement. You will not miss it if you choose now to believe. You will not be left behind if you decide to feel its truth before it becomes visible. Something deep within you knows that this is the hour. You've felt the pull. You've seen the signs. Now, the only question that remains is this. Will you be still enough to hear God when he says, please listen? Because if you do, July 5th won't just change the world around you. It will change you forever. God said, please listen. July 5th, 2025 will change everything. The inner voice of God is not loud, but it is final. There is a voice that speaks not through thunder, not through chaos, not through the shaking of the earth or the roaring of the storm. It speaks in silence, and yet its echo moves worlds. That voice is the voice of God within you. On July 5th, 2025, this voice is going to speak with clarity, not because it will suddenly become louder, but because your spirit is being positioned to hear it. Most people look for signs in the sky, in the news, in external events. But what if the most powerful turning point in your life isn't an explosion outside, but an agreement inside? The inner voice of God doesn't debate, doesn't argue, and doesn't seek attention. It simply declares. Its tone is final even when the world hasn't caught up with what it says. In the stillness of your soul, God has already spoken, and July 5th is the moment when what he whispered in secret will start to take root in your visible world. That whisper might be a dream that refuses to die, a feeling that won't leave you alone, or a repeated image in your mind that shows you something greater than what your eyes see. You've dismissed it before, thinking it was just imagination, just emotion, just fantasy. But in reality, it was prophecy. It was the seed of your next season. It was God speaking not to your ears but to your essence. When God says, please listen, he is not begging for your attention. He is inviting you to remember who you are. You were never created to chase outside confirmation. You were designed to recognize divine truth from within. The reason this inner voice feels so familiar is because it is the part of you that has never been separated from God. Your spirit remembers what your mind forgets. On July 5th, something will stir inside you, a deep resonance like the vibration of a tuning fork that finally matches the frequency of heaven. You will feel it not as fear, not as pressure, but as peace. Divine peace isn't passive, it is power disguised as rest. That is how the voice of God operates. It does not force, it aligns. It does not push you into panic, it lifts you into position. If you're waiting for a sign in the sky, you'll miss the miracle that's being born in your consciousness. For it is not the sky that must change, it is your perception. The moment you recognize the voice, the path will appear. What was once confusion becomes clarity, and what was once delay becomes divine timing. July 5th is not about something coming to you from the outside. It is about the unveiling of what has always been present, but hidden beneath layers of fear, doubt, and distraction. The voice of God is not on a radio channel that plays louder the more you struggle. It gets clearer the more you surrender, and surrender is not giving up, it's tuning in. It's turning away from noise and leaning into knowing. You have been conditioned to believe that louder means more powerful, but in the realm of spirit, the quietest voice is often the one with the most authority. God's whispers shape destinies because they bypass logic and touch eternity. When you hear it, you'll know it, not because someone confirms it for you, but because your whole being will bear witness to its truth. You won't need permission to believe it. You won't wait for circumstances to validate it. The moment you agree with it, it begins to manifest. The reason this message is coming to you now is because you're finally ready to hear it. God has been speaking all along, but now your ears are becoming unclogged by trauma. Your heart is being softened by surrender, and your mind is opening through faith. It doesn't matter how long you've ignored it. It doesn't matter how far you feel you've fallen. What matters is that today, right now, you are hearing the sound of your future calling, and it's calling you to step into the reality that has been waiting for your belief. The world may continue spinning in confusion, but you are being called to stand still in revelation. What changes on July 5th is not fate, it is focus. Suddenly, what once felt far becomes near. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. This is the beauty of the voice of God. It doesn't need to yell because it knows it cannot lie. Every word he speaks is already finished. It is not a suggestion, it is a completion. You may be wondering, how do I know it's really God speaking? You know because it brings peace, not anxiety. You know because it draws you toward love, not fear. You know because even when it challenges you, it doesn't condemn you. It calls you higher. That voice inside you that says you are meant for more is not a delusion. It's divine direction. That vision that keeps showing up in your imagination is not an accident. It is a blueprint from heaven. What makes July 5th powerful is not the calendar date. It's the alignment between what God said and what you finally believe. Everything in your world will begin to shift the moment you stop doubting what you've always known deep inside. The voice of God will not compete with the chaos. It will simply stand as truth, unbothered by your past, unshaken by your present, and undefeated in your future. Now is the time to trust the whisper over the whirlwind. Now is the time to trust the inner knowing over the outer noise. Don't let the loudness of life drown out the quiet command of your spirit. What you agree with internally, you will see externally. This is not just inspiration, it is instruction. It is time to go back to what God told you before fear rewrote the script. July 5th, 2025 is not about something beginning, it is about something being revealed. And the revelation begins the moment you say, "Yes, I hear you." This inner voice will guide you into rooms you never thought you'd enter, unlock doors you didn't even know were closed, and restore things you didn't realize you had lost. But first, you must recognize its authority, not with effort, but with expectancy. You don't need to strive. You only need to believe, because when God speaks, his word never returns void, and when he says, "Please listen," he's not just giving information. He's releasing transformation, and everything, absolutely everything, changes when you finally listen. Imagination is the seed of revelation. Everything you see around you was once invisible. Every structure, every invention, every life-changing idea began in the sacred space of imagination. And yet, the world has taught you to trust only what you can touch, to believe only what you can see. But God never designed the visible to be the source of truth. The visible is the echo, the reflection, the after effect. The true seed of reality lies in the realm of imagination, and July 5th, 2025 is not the beginning of something new. It is the sprouting of something you've already imagined. The world you are stepping into is not being handed to you. It's being revealed from within you. The visions that haunt your quiet hours, the dreams that tug at your spirit, the inner pictures that won't fade even when life gets dark, those are not random. They are the very voice of God speaking in the only language creation understands, imagination. You've been waiting for confirmation, a sign, a door to open. But what if that door was never outside of you? What if the door is your own belief in what you've imagined? On this divine date, the veil will begin to lift, not to show you something new, but to show you what has been hidden in plain sight within your spirit all along. You must stop dismissing imagination as child's play or fantasy. It is the divine blueprint. It is how God communicates his will to those bold enough to believe without proof. The mind governed by logic seeks comfort in patterns and predictability, but the spirit thrives in the unseen, where faith is the currency and imagination is the canvas. When God gives you a vision, he's not teasing you, he's trusting you. That mental image, that recurring feeling, that inexplicable pull towards something greater, it's not a dream in the conventional sense. It's a revelation in seed form. You don't water it with effort, you water it with faith. You don't plant it in soil, you plant it in consciousness. And as you nourish it through focused imagination, through feeling the reality of it before it appears, you are aligning yourself with heaven's schedule. July 5th is not about external permission, it's about internal permission. It's the day you finally decide to believe what you see when you close your eyes is more real than what you see when they're open, because the spiritual world always precedes the physical, and the imagination is the womb through which God births his greatest manifestations. The mistake most people make is waiting for the world to catch up before they believe. But the world never leads, it follows. What you imagine today becomes your reality tomorrow, not through force, but through alignment. Your present circumstances may look nothing like the life you've imagined, but that's only because you've judged the vision by what is, instead of by what is becoming. You must stop treating imagination as if it's optional. It is essential. It is the only place where you are free from limits, free from judgment, free from the restrictions of your past. It is in imagination that you rehearse your future, not through fantasy, but through faith-filled practice. Every time you feel the joy of the outcome before it appears, you are accelerating its arrival. Every time you thank God for what you see within, you are inviting heaven to manifest it without. This is the divine formula. This is the process the prophets and the dreamers understood. They saw beyond the facts and into the truth, and so must you. There is a sacred law at work in your life. What you consistently imagine with belief must eventually take form. It cannot be otherwise. The only thing that delays your promise is your doubt. When you vacillate between believing and questioning, between imagining and dismissing, you are digging up the seed before it can grow. But when you fix your eyes inward, when you close your physical eyes and open your spiritual ones, and you dwell in the feeling of what God showed you, then the universe must respond. The people, the places, the timing, all of it begins to shift in your favor. That's not magic, it's divine order. On July 5th, something will begin to move, not because the date itself holds power, but because your decision to trust what you've imagined will unlock what has been waiting for your agreement. The key was never in the hands of the world. It's always been in your spirit. Your imagination is not lying to you, it is awakening you. It is showing you who you truly are, beyond the limits of your upbringing, beyond the trauma of your past, beyond the failures and setbacks and betrayals that tried to convince you otherwise. That image of a better life, that deep knowing that you were made for more, it's not arrogance. It's prophecy, and when you honor it with focus, with reverence, with persistence, you begin to co-create with the very mind of God. You're not asking for permission to succeed. You're remembering that you already have the divine seed of success within you. You don't chase purpose. You imagine it, you live it inwardly, and then it must unfold outwardly. This is the divine paradox. The more deeply you believe in what you can't see, the more quickly it becomes something you can see. Do not be fooled by the delays. Do not be shaken by appearances. Imagination is never in a hurry, but it is always on time. God gave you the picture not to frustrate you, but to guide you. Your job is not to figure out how it will happen. Your job is to feel that it already has. That is the secret. That is the power. You shift your reality not through striving, but through inner agreement. When your inner world accepts the vision as already done, your outer world must conform. Reality bends to the will of imagination empowered by faith, and on July 5th, if you dare to believe it, the atmosphere will respond to your inner conviction. Doors will open, not because you forced them, but because your spirit walked through them before your body ever did. This is the great mystery the world has forgotten. Imagination is not escapism. It is entry into your divine inheritance. God is not holding back. The only barrier is your own resistance to what you've been shown. But when you stop asking, "Is this possible?" and begin declaring, "It is finished," everything changes. You no longer wait for signs. You become the sign. You no longer beg for answers. You are the answer because you've embodied the reality of what you once only saw in part. This is how the supernatural becomes natural. This is how faith becomes fact. This is how revelation becomes realization. So on July 5th, don't wait for something to happen to you. Become what you've already imagined. Let go of logic and step into divine knowing. Trust that what you've seen in your spirit was not a coincidence. It was a calling. It was God revealing the end from the beginning. The blueprint has always been within you. And when you finally believe that imagination is the seed of revelation, you'll realize the harvest has already been sown, and the time to reap it is now. This date has already happened in spirit. What if I told you that July 5th, 2025 isn't coming? It's already happened. Not in the realm of clocks or calendars, but in the deeper, timeless realm of spirit, where all things are finished before they ever begin. You see, we have been taught to live in a world of waiting, always looking forward to some future event, hoping and praying that what we desire will eventually arrive. But in truth, there is no event coming to rescue you, only a realization. There is no delay in the realm of the divine, only your perception of delay. Time as we know it is an illusion created to organize our experiences, but the spirit doesn't live in time, it lives in completion. What you are anticipating on July 5th is not something that will suddenly occur. It is something that has already taken place in the invisible and is now pressing through the veil into your visible reality. This is why you feel the urgency, the pull, the stirring deep in your belly that refuses to let you rest. That uneasiness isn't anxiety, it's divine alignment. Your spirit knows something your mind hasn't caught up with yet. The event is not waiting for you to be ready. You are being awakened to the fact that you already are. That is why July 5th matters, not because it marks the beginning of something new, but because it reveals something eternal. Everything you are destined to be already exists in finished form in the mind of God. When you were born, you didn't arrive empty. You arrived full, full of purpose, full of vision, full of the encoded memory of who you really are. The world taught you to forget. Experiences layered doubt over truth, pain over promise, but the spirit cannot be erased. It can only be ignored, and now, on this sacred date, you are being invited to remember. You are being called to awaken to the reality that the breakthrough, the healing, the transformation you've been praying for is not a future event. It is a spiritual fact awaiting your agreement. This is why faith is not hoping something will happen, it's knowing it already has. It's not about praying to receive, it's about aligning with what's already been given. The shift doesn't happen when the clock strikes midnight. The shift happens the moment you believe what's true in the unseen is more real than what's visible in the seen. You're not waiting for God to act. God is waiting for you to see. You have been conditioned to believe that time separates you from the promise, that if you just wait long enough, or suffer deeply enough, or prove yourself worthy enough, then maybe, just maybe, God will move on your behalf. But that's not how spiritual law works. The moment a thing is imagined with faith, it is done. Creation is finished. Every answered prayer already exists in its full manifestation in the eternal now. The delay you perceive is not a delay in reality, it is a delay in recognition. It is only your attention to lack, to separation, to fear, that blocks you from seeing what is already yours. On July 5th, the veil begins to lift, not because God finally decides to act, but because you finally decide to believe. You stop waiting and start knowing. You stop begging and start declaring. You stop striving and start receiving. The future becomes now because you realize it always was. There is a divine timeline that runs beneath the one the world follows. On that timeline, July 5th isn't about prediction, it's about confirmation. Your inner world has already seen what's coming. The repeated visions, the dreams that won't leave you, the coincidences stacking up in your path, these are not signs of something about to happen. They are evidence of something already accomplished. Your job now is not to figure it out, but to align with it, to live as though it is already done, to feel the outcome before you see it. That's the key to bringing it into form. You must become the version of yourself who no longer needs the manifestation to prove anything, because your spirit already knows it's yours. July 5th is the awakening of that identity, the day your higher self takes the wheel. The day the illusion of waiting dies and the truth of fulfillment is born, this realization will feel like a divine remembering. You won't need someone to explain it to you. Something within will just know. And when you know, everything changes. You'll stop checking the clock. You'll stop watching for signs. You'll stop needing evidence, because you will have become the evidence, the prophecy fulfilled. The Word made flesh. You will move differently. You will speak differently. You will walk into rooms as if you own them, not out of arrogance, but because your spirit recognizes what your eyes are just now catching up to. You are not here to chase outcomes, you are here to embody them. That is what it means to live from the end. That is what it means to know that July 5th has already occurred. This is why your feelings are so powerful. They are not responses to life, they are the frequencies that summon life. When you feel with conviction what you want as already real, you collapse time. You draw the eternal into the now, and that's exactly what you are being prepared to do. This date is not about prophecy from the outside, it's about activation from within. What others will call sudden, you will know was inevitable. What they will see as a miracle, you will recognize as memory. You are not waiting for the shift. You are the shift. You are the doorway. You are the vessel through which heaven kisses earth. But first, you must let go of the illusion that you are separated from your promise. You must stop measuring your progress by what you see and start measuring it by what you know. The knowing is everything. The knowing is the portal. There will be moments when the external still looks unchanged. Don't be fooled. The soil doesn't betray the seed just because the sprout hasn't broken through. Underneath, everything is moving. Behind the scenes, the orchestration is in motion. God is not a man that he should lie. What was spoken in spirit must be seen in time, but only by those who choose to believe beyond the veil of sight. That is your task now, to believe in what's finished, even while you walk through what seems unfinished. Because July 5th didn't bring the miracle, it revealed it. It brought it into view, and you, awakened soul, have been prepared to see. So stand in this moment with authority. Let your words reflect the truth of completion. Let your mind dwell only on what aligns with the vision. Let your actions reflect the confidence of a person who knows the outcome is secure. You are not behind schedule. You are not late. You are perfectly in sync with the rhythm of divine unfolding. The moment has already occurred, and you are just now catching up to the light of it. Embrace this day not with anxiety, but with awe, not with fear, but with fulfillment. For on this date, heaven doesn't give you something new, it shows you what was always yours. And once you see it, you'll never be the same again. You must die to who you were to see what God will do. There is a truth that echoes through every sacred transformation, a truth that can neither be bypassed nor negotiated. You must die to who you were in order to see what God is about to do. July 5th, 2025 is not just a divine moment. It is a spiritual funeral and a resurrection all at once. This is the hour where your old self is being called to rest, not because it was evil, but because it was incomplete. God cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. He cannot birth a new dimension of your destiny into a mind still tied to limitation, fear, and identity shaped by trauma. You've cried out for change, you've begged for breakthrough, you've fasted, prayed, and waited. But none of it can fully manifest until you release the version of yourself that was built for survival, not for purpose. The you who learned to cope must now make room for the you who is called to conquer. The version of you that bowed to others' opinions, that stayed silent to keep the peace, that diminished your own power just to stay acceptable. That version must be crucified, and not with sorrow but with joy, because what's coming is too great for the old you to carry. Spiritual death is not the end, it's the gateway to transformation. It is the divine act of letting go of what no longer serves your becoming. You cannot take bitterness into blessing. You cannot carry unforgiveness into favor. You cannot demand resurrection and still cling to the grave clothes of your past. July 5th isn't about doing more, it's about becoming less, so that you can finally become all that God designed you to be. And becoming less doesn't mean becoming weaker. It means shedding layers that never belonged to you. It means laying down the false armor, the pride, the people, pleasing, the self, sabotage, the old patterns that once protected you but now imprison you. God wants to give you more, but he can't bless the mask. He won't anoint the counterfeit. Only the authentic version of you can walk in the fullness of your divine inheritance, and that version is being called forth. But the old must die for the new to rise. This death is not physical. It is spiritual, mental, emotional. It happens in the silent spaces, in the middle of the night, in moments when God asks you to release what you thought you couldn't live without. It's when he pulls you away from relationships, environments, identities, and thought patterns that once gave you a sense of control. It feels like loss, but it's divine reordering. It feels like being torn down, but it's really the clearing of space for construction. You can't build a palace on the ruins of a shack. You must first level the ground. God is leveling you not to punish you, but to prepare you. The fire you're walking through is not meant to destroy you. It's refining you. Crushing you've endured wasn't random. It was the pressing that produces oil. Every tear you've cried, every prayer you thought went unanswered, every storm that broke you open, they were not signs of God's absence. They were signs of God's process. He was breaking the shell so the seed could grow. To die to who you were is not a one-time event. It's a daily surrender. It's waking up and choosing not to respond the way you used to. It's choosing faith over fear, purpose over comfort, vision over victimhood. It's trusting that what's ahead is greater than what's behind, even when everything in you wants to retreat. On July 5th, the energy will shift. The atmosphere will support the courageous. The doors that open will not open for those still rehearsing the pain of the past. They will open for those who have buried it and chosen to rise. And make no mistake, resurrection power is already in you. You don't need to chase it. You don't need to earn it. You simply need to yield to it. The death of the old self is not defeat. It is the doorway through which destiny enters. God is not interested in tweaking your life. He wants to transform it. He doesn't want to elevate the old you. He wants to introduce the world to a new creation, and new creations require burial of the old. You cannot inherit a throne with the mindset of a servant. You cannot possess the land if you still think like a slave. There is a version of you that heaven already recognizes. The healed you, the whole you, the fearless you, the you that walks in purpose without apology. That version is already alive in the spirit. Now, July 5th calls you to align with it. You must say goodbye to the version of yourself that was formed in dysfunction and step into the version that was formed in divine identity. This is not just about letting go, it's about remembering who you were before life tried to rewrite your worth. This death will be painful, but it will also be holy. It will strip you, but it will also free you. You'll find yourself weeping over what you thought you needed, only to discover that what God is giving you is so much more than what you lost. You'll mourn the end of an era, not realizing you're stepping into an eternal upgrade. It will feel like everything is falling apart, but really everything is falling into place, because God's order often looks like disorder to the natural eye. Don't resist the breaking. It's your breakthrough in disguise. Don't fear the ending. It's proof that a new beginning has arrived. July 5th isn't coming to bless your comfort zone. It's coming to explode it. It will disrupt everything you thought you needed and reveal everything you truly are. And when you let go, really let go, you'll see what God will do. You'll feel His power flow through you in ways you've never known. You'll speak and doors will open. You'll walk into rooms and carry a presence that shifts the atmosphere. You'll move with a boldness that doesn't come from confidence, but from clarity. You'll stop striving and start manifesting. You'll stop wondering if you're worthy and start walking like you know you are. You'll begin to live from the end, from the finished work, from the victory that was already written. That's what this death makes possible. That's what this date is about. You're not dying because God wants to hurt you. You're dying because He wants to reveal you, the real you, the chosen one, the vessel of glory. So embrace it. Don't run from the fire. Walk through it. Don't fear the silence. It's where God speaks the loudest. Don't mourn what's leaving. Celebrate what's arriving. On July 5th, say goodbye to who you were and say yes to who you've always been beneath the layers. Say yes to destiny. Say yes to transformation. Say yes to the God who doesn't just change things, He resurrects them. And if you are willing to lay down who you were, you will see what God will do. Something so divine, so perfect, so orchestrated that it could only be Him. You are the oracle, the prophecy, and the fulfillment you've spent so much of your life waiting for a sign, waiting for confirmation, waiting for someone to come and tell you what God already embedded within your being. But the wait is over, not because something is coming, but because you are finally realizing the truth. You are the oracle, the prophecy, and the fulfillment. July 5th, 2025 is not about a word from outside reaching you. It's about the word within you awakening. The prophecy you've been praying to receive has been living inside your spirit all along, clothed in dreams, buried in visions, echoing through your imagination. God never sent you here empty. You came into this world encoded with a message, an assignment, a divine vibration that no one else carries. You are not here to chase signs. You are the sign. You're not here to interpret the word. You are the living expression of it. On this day, the light will shine not to reveal something new in the sky, but to illuminate what has been hidden within you. That stirring you feel, that restless urgency, that unshakable sense that you were made for more, it's not delusion. It's destiny calling you to attention. It's the heaven within you roaring back to life. You don't need a prophet to tell you who you are when the evidence is already speaking through your actions, your endurance, your unexplainable wisdom in the midst of storms. The world has tried to label you, shrink you, distract you, but the truth can't stay buried forever. You are the message the world has been waiting for. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every silent battle you endured has been shaping the very vessel that now carries this divine frequency. When you speak, the atmosphere listens, not because of your volume, but because of your vibration. You are not loud, but you are weighty. You carry the authority of someone who's been through the fire and came out gold. And now, on July 5th, you are not just being recognized. You are being remembered, remembered by heaven, remembered by destiny, remembered by every piece of creation that has been groaning for the manifestation of what you carry. Because you didn't just survive, you matured. You didn't just endure, you evolved. You didn't just wait, you became. There is no outside savior coming to do what you were anointed to do. Stop searching the skies and start looking within. You are the answered prayer. You are the next chapter. You are the divine interruption to generational cycles. You are the embodiment of prophecy made flesh. The day is no longer about you seeking truth. It's about you standing in truth. There is a version of you that is already known in heaven. That version is fearless, whole, divinely guided, and fully aligned with the mind of God. And July 5th is not just a day of realization. It is a day of recognition. You will begin to see yourself as you truly are, not through the lens of pain or performance, but through the clarity of purpose. You are no longer hiding behind wounds. You are now walking in wisdom. No longer apologizing for your calling, no longer shrinking in the face of opinions. You are here to speak what must be spoken, build what must be built, destroy what must be dismantled, and resurrect what must rise. This is not arrogance, it is agreement with heaven's design. The voice of God does not thunder down from mountaintops anymore, it flows through your inner being. When you imagine with conviction, that is prophecy in motion. When you speak with faith, that is creation unfolding. When you walk with alignment, that is heaven moving through earth. You are not disconnected from the divine. You are the divine in expression. The kingdom is within you. The light is within you. The answer is within you. What makes July 5th so important is that it marks the moment you stop disqualifying yourself and start accepting the mantle you were born with. You don't need to earn it. You don't need to beg for it. It was always yours. The gifts, the insights, the discernment, the dreams, they're not random. They are assignments. They are sacred evidence that God has chosen you to carry something that others can't see until you become it. This world is waiting on your activation, not your explanation. You don't need to convince anyone of who you are. You just need to be the vessel, be the light, be the movement. The ones who are meant to recognize you will. The ones who don't are not your concern. You were never called to fit in. You were born to stand out because you were formed in divine difference. You were wired for impact, for transformation, for truth that disrupts and heals at the same time. That's why you've never been comfortable settling. That's why mediocrity makes your spirit itch. You weren't built for average. You were designed for activation. You are the deliverance someone else is praying for. You are the voice someone else is waiting to hear. You are the mirror in which others will finally see their own divine reflection. So let this be the moment you stop underestimating the power of who you are. Let this be the hour you silence the noise of every past failure, every misstep, every wound that once told you you're not enough. Those were illusions, necessary for your development, but never meant to define your identity. God allowed the darkness so you'd recognize your light. He permitted the wilderness so you'd understand the value of the promised land, and now you've arrived. You are not becoming, you are revealing. You are not hoping, you are knowing. The prophecy wasn't about something coming to pass outside of you. It was always about you rising into your true self. You are the fulfillment. The walk, the voice, the presence. You carry something the world desperately needs, and July 5th is your moment to walk in it unapologetically. It won't always make sense to others, but it will make perfect sense to your spirit. The instructions you receive may not be logical, but they will be divine. Follow them anyway. Trust what you feel deep within, even if your eyes can't yet see the evidence, because faith makes a way for the evidence to appear. And as you obey, not in fear but in divine certainty, you'll notice everything around you start to shift. Opportunities will meet you. Doors will swing open without you forcing them. Favor will find you not because you chased it, but because you embodied it. That's what happens when prophecy comes alive. That's what happens when the vessel becomes the voice. So here it is, your divine reminder. Stop waiting for someone else to call you chosen. You already are. Stop searching for another prophecy to be spoken. It's already been written on the walls of your heart. Stop trying to prove your anointing. You walk in it. You breathe it. You are it. July 5th will not change you. It will reveal you. The mask is coming off, the light is being turned on, and the world will finally see what heaven has always known. You are the oracle, the prophecy, and the fulfillment. The wait is over. The time is now. Rise and walk in what has always been yours.